Hello, babes. I'm Snow, and welcome to my channel. As you can tell by the title of today's video, I will be discussing Pop Star Academy, Katseye. And y'all, this is gonna be a long one because I'm analyzing what the fuck happened in their little documentary. So I got my water here and I got my coffee here. So we're ready to get down. So I'm just gonna jump right into it. I initially wasn't going to watch the show right now just because I just moved into my dorm. I finally moved in this weekend. I finally set up everything. The background is still work in progress, but I wasn't going to watch it because it came out during my Artemis concert. I had to move. I just wasn't planning on watching it initially when it came out. Plus, I'm participating in the high boycott, so I was just like, I'll wait for someone to post it on Daily Motion. It's fine. Twitter and TikTok had other plans for me. Listen, it's crazy because I don't know how often I can get surprised at K-pop stands. I just feel like K-pop stands as a whole, I'm so sorry to say this, can see the posters I am a K-pop stan. You really have to think about the nuances and stuff and really take context clues and make educated analysis and inferences. I feel like media literacy is at an all-time low. I don't know. It's just watching the documentary myself, it was just I just felt like social media was just doing the most with it. And honestly, giving High what they want. I know people, specifically icons, were saying, why would High post this? Why would High approve this final cut when it makes the girls that debuted in Cat's Eye look terrible? High was so stupid. Hype shot themselves in the foot. But honestly speaking, I think they were smart for it, in the sense of I don't think it was a good idea to do it. It still was a risky thing to do, and I don't want to praise them because it was still a stupid idea and it was not the right way. People were still going to watch it regardless, but they knew that people love drama, and they, I guess, just found whatever beef or drama that they had during the time of preparing for debut, them training, and them going through Dream Academy. And we're kind of just we're doing what I want. Everyone's talking about it. We know that these industry relations people are just thinking any publicity is good publicity. Anybody talking about us is good. Blah blah blah. They don't really care about the portrayal of these girls. Vibe is benefiting from being messy as hell. I think it was a stupid idea just because it's you really did not know how the public was going to perceive them. At first, people were ridiculing them, and people are still hating on Lara, Sophia Manon, which is why I wanted to make this video. So Hybe just loves drama and knows that the viewers want drama, so we're going to really amp it up as much as we can because that's how we'll get views. And it's you're not wrong, but it's so stupid. Please stop. Before I get into the deep analysis of Popstar Academy, I just want to have a couple disclaimers and reminders before I break into it. I just want to say please do not think so harshly and be so critical of these girls. These are teenage girls. The oldest is born in 2002. I am older than all of the girls in Cat's Eye. I was born in 2001. So the oldest is 21, the youngest is 14. You have to remember these are high schoolers. These are a couple of two, three middle schoolers. These girls are young as fuck and they were put into such a pressure cooker. And now it's just well, the rug's been pulled out from under a lot of them, and it's not the fault of anyone but Hybe. But this is just a lot to go through, especially at such a young age. I just feel there was a lot of honestly psychological warfare that was going on with these girls. It was rough. While there are a couple girls that I still don't really have good opinions towards, I'm gonna preface this by saying I don't have good feelings towards Adela. I don't have good feelings towards Naisha, and I don't have good feelings towards Samara and Ilya for stuff that's not necessarily drama. I don't like those four girls specifically, and I'll get into why specifically I don't like those girls. Specifically, Samara and Ilya are Zionists, so I just want to say that right now before it's oh well, I'm not arguing with y'all. I don't fuck with Zionists. And Naisha and Adela, like, while it was like I could have understood where they were coming from, they just left like such a sour taste in my mouth for being continuously nasty. So without further ado, let's get into the breakdown. Episode 1 is where we see that Hybex Geffen is first collaborating. It is Geffen, which is a Western management company. They have other companies inside of them, like Interscope Records and stuff like that. And then, Hybe, which is the K-pop company that has BTS, 17, New Jeans, LE SSERAFIM, From S9, TXT, Boys Next Door, and Hyphen, and Team, Illit. Am I missing anyone? As they are collaborating to form a global girl group that will be focused primarily in Los Angeles. They're like, oh, we have to find we're gonna put them through K-pop training, we're gonna do this, but first we have to scout the girls. And they start scouting immediately. So we get to the first 14 original girls. I'm going to refer to them as the OG girls. These OG girls are Emily, Sophia, Azrella, Marquise, Daniela, Megan, Adela, Ilya, Naisha, Carly, Abby, Lexi, Brooklyn, and then a girl that we don't really see, Mia. We don't see Mia at all. Mia kind of at some point also gets replaced by a girl named Angelina or Angelica, I forgot, but we also don't see her. So these girls kind of like come and go. They're like referred to as like the 14 or the 15 at some point, but I don't really discuss them because they're not discussed at all throughout this. We just talk about primarily the girls I said before. So right now they're just kind of like starting to collect and cast for training, and we get an inside look into like a couple of them. This is where we start to get like an insider look into like each one of them. We get into the look of like, oh, we have the stars that are really good at singing. We have Ilya, Sophia, Carly that are really good at singing. We have the star factor, that's Marquise, that's Abby. And then we have the dancers. The dancers, top dancers, are Emily, Daniela. They also really like Naisha's hip hop dancing. And we kind of like get into the look of like where each girl kind of fits. We have the top stars that are Sophia, Adela. We have Emily, that's always kind of in the top. We have Daniela, Megan in kind of the middle. And then we have more of the bottom people where it's like, oh, they just don't have that confidence yet, or they don't have that skill set yet, like Abby or Azrella. Azrella, they kind of like downplay her a lot, honestly, when it comes to like, oh, she's just not confident. And she just like, they kind of like are insinuate that they're very shocked that she makes it that far. But Azrella was always like one of my picks too. So it was just like, okay. But yeah, so these are the 14 girls we got a couple of looks into. We know kind of from the jump that their favorites are Emily, Lexi, they love Lexi, Sophia, I'd say Adela. We kind of see like those four. I think they really are into, but they're still kind of like mishing around and like kind of like figuring out what girl group they're trying to make. And right now they're doing, the training process. They're just casting and learning basic fundamental skills. The adults live together in a house in LA, and then the minors have to be accompanied by a guardian and live in the city. We see that they're put through like similar training as like K-pop idols. So they're put into like 12-hour practice days. They have like different lessons. They have vocal lessons, dancing, they have heel dancing, they have performance. And they kind of highlight that each girl has either training in something, whether it be professional or kind of like street, or they are well aware of the K-pop system. Like a lot of them are K-pop stars. We have like Abby, Azrella, Marquise that are just like really into K-pop. We have Sophia too. And then we have people that are like kind of either classically or street trained. We have like Sophia, who had a mother who was into like theater and was into performances, so she probably had a lot of like training in that. People like Emily, Adela, Daniela, who have been dancing like their whole lives. We have singers like Ilya that have been singing their whole lives. And then we have people like Naisha, who is more of like hip hop training. So it's like a couple of different flavors, a couple of different this and that and the third. So we kind of see how the girls are adjusting to LA, and then we're also thrown into the skill assessment and then the monthly evaluations. So the skill assessment, they're just kind of like ranking the girls and seeing like what is what, and then for the monthly evaluations they determine if they're going to eliminate someone or not based on if they think that they should keep going with their skills and maybe they'll advance, or if they've been too stagnant or have just not been what they think that they need for the group, so they eliminate. And they also highlight that they have Sun, the choreographer for BTS, as the creative executive for this whole like Hybex Geffen project. I don't know if he still is, but I'm kind of assuming he is. And then we have a couple of the teachers. We have good vocal coaches, dancing coaches, performance coaches. We have the manager, Missy, and then we have the CEO. I always forget her name, but I'm just going to refer to her as CEO lady. So we are seeing everything unfold. And Missy, one of the higher ups, says from episode one, they are already aware that they, as a company, want to establish 20 to 25 trainees and do a survival show to determine who will be in the group. They don't tell the girls this. They don't tell the girls this, and this is essentially their downfall. This is essentially why the whole drama started, the whole beef started. I am going to say this the whole time. The reason why the beef all happens is because Hai was not clear and told the girls what was going on. They say that it's because they want them to focus on their fundamental skills and not be like too stressed about a show or something like that. But we both know that it was to create drama. We know that it was to like, oh, surprise. Because okay, maybe when they got there, sure, don't tell them yet. But at some point, they should have. We also see the chairman of Hybe, Bang PD. He he does this thing that I think is like, okay, girl, like, but he goes off and says like, oh, ever since BTS got big, I don't meet the trainees until after they debut. I've had this rule, and so I only watch them through monthly evaluation videos because I want to get the Stan experience. Okay, girl. You are a 60-year-old man, but sure. So after the first monthly evaluation, they decide that they want to let go of one of the OG girls, Abby, because Abby just doesn't have that skill set yet. She's just too behind, and they don't think that they can develop her skills enough for her to be ready to go on the show, obviously. But they tell her like to debut. So they don't feel like it's right to keep her there. So they all say goodbye to Abby. Now, this is where I say allegedly. They say like she leaves after the monthly evaluations, and then spoiler, Manon comes in a little later. But there's this screenshot of them together walking into this room. So, girl, what do you mean? So this is why I say like, yo, like please remember that this show takes place between like 2 to 3 years. We are not gonna get all the content in 8 hours. We're just not gonna get the full picture, the full story in 8 hours, especially with fuck ass Netflix, fuck ass editors like changing shit up to make stuff more cohesive and more concise. We just learned this with Love Island, y'all. Like, let's get into it. They love just showing what they want to show because they showed us the whole time Aaron and Kaylor and Nicole and Kendall, and no one asked for it. We all wanted Serena and Cordell. We wanted Leah Miguel. We wanted Janae and Kenny. I wanted to see so much at the Hideaway. We saw so much of Nicole and Kendall being at the Hideaway, and I didn't get enough of Janae and Kenny. Sorry, a rant for another day. But like we see that reality TV and documentaries, whatever, they just show what they want to show. So now we are down to 13. So we're like, fuck, we need 20 to 25 though. So this is where we start to tease that Manon comes in. So episode 2. Manon is first introduced. We are in Switzerland. They tell us like, oh, we sent a trainer to go over there and like get her skills up before she comes up to LA because she don't got any fundamental skills at all. She is star quality. We saw her on Instagram. We immediately was like, oh, need her, need her, need her. So they send people, they're like, oh, we invest heavily in our trainees. How much debt are those trainees in? Let's be real. But they say like, oh, star quality, star it girl. It girl. We knew from the jump. But yeah, this episode they highlight the fundamentals of everything. They specifically talk about like high heel dancing and the levels. After monthly evaluations, they kind of like tally up your votes and put you in a skill set level. There's A through D. D doesn't do high heels at the end, and I don't think they wear them yet, but they have to like keep practicing the fundamentals until they can move up to rankings, and then like each rank gets harder and harder. No one is in A at the beginning of this episode. No one is in A. They don't know what A is really. Here they start showing more of the girls in the behind the scenes. We get some of Danny and some of Megan. We learn that Danny, has been dancing since 3. She's done Dancing with the Stars. Her parents are Venezuelan and Cuban. She has, like grown up with the culture and whatnot, and her parents had raised her to be ballroom dancers like them. We have Megan, who is from Hawaii. She has a Chinese mom. Her mom is so cute. I love her mom. Her mom is the cutest thing ever. But her mom is the cutest thing ever. She talks about how coming to LA was hard because it was way different from Hawaii. Hawaii, to her, the people are so welcoming, like, but coming to LA, like people were just more like standoffish and kind of like attitude or whatever. And she just was like, it was just a bit of an adjustment for her. But she adjusted. And then we show Sophia. I thought it was funny, her little segment where she talks, I think she's talking to Missy, and she says, oh, I didn't tell my parents that I was auditioning for this. I only told them when I got the letter saying that I was going to LA. And she talks about how her mom did the same as well when she was 19, except for it was for a play that was in London. That was crazy. And she didn't tell her parents either until she was like on to the flight to London and stuff like that. So she's giving her mom a taste of her own medicine, I guess. She talks about how she's proud of her mom and how her mom is proud of her because she got like, the whole like Hybex Geffen gig without needing her mom's connections, something like that, because I guess people in the past have said that she has these connections because of her mom, or she got these roles because of her mom, which is crazy because the thing is, like, it's like to say a Nepo baby, like, sure, but she has a wonderful voice. She is talented. Let's not talk bad about Sophia. But yeah, so we start to see like a bit of like a picture of these girls. We see pictures of the other girls too. They talk about Emily. They don't really go into Azrella or Marquise, and that really irritated me. They talk a bit about Ilya in the first episode. They talk about Adela a lot. Not gonna lie. You could tell also they really wanted Adela to debut. They didn't show much of like Lexi's backstory. They just showed that they really wanted her to. So Manon finally gets to LA and finally gets to the house. We also see like a cute little moment between Manon and her sister being like, I'm leaving. Bye. So she finally gets to the house. They're all like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. She immediately starts like clicking with Ilya. We're still chilling. I want to take this second to like say I at this point felt so proud of Manon because Manon talks about the fact that she does not know anything of the world. Like she's never trained in anything singing or dancing. She's never like she writes songs and stuff, and she's been in music videos and she's modeled, but she's never like danced and sang, and she was like thrown into the deep end into this project because she's also like not a K-pop stan. Talk about the fact, and this is where I say also like Hype should have been more on top of it. I think Hype should have been reminding the girls and like telling the girls like, remember, there's a lot of cultural differences between y'all. Like y'all are not going to think that the same thing is right, and you might sometimes butt heads because your culture does something a certain way and your culture does something a certain way, and stuff like that. Like I feel like there was not enough of that. So on to episode Three. This episode, they do more of the vocal training. This is where we kind of see like the singing between the girls. Sophia is shown to have a really good ear. She, like, while she's singing, after she's done, she's like, okay, so this note was like pitchy. This note was kind of flat. I need to like do this. Like, she has a really good ear and knows like what she needs to do, which I thought was really cool. I think it's like the theater in her, I'm not gonna lie. But she has a really good ear. They show Megan. Megan has a wonderful voice. Again, at the time, Megan doesn't necessarily have the highest confidence right now. So it's just more of like yes, she has this potential, but she needs to like get up there. So I just like I'm glad now because she has the confidence now. But at the time, she doesn't really have the confidence to sing. We have Emily who does get injured in this episode. She gets like her foot sprained, which is sucks because in the last episode, I forgot to mention this, she finally moves up to A. She's the first person to finally move up to level A. And right when she moves into level A, her foot freaking is sprained. So she's in a boot for a couple of weeks. And so she is only focusing on vocal performances, but her skill set is dancing. She's not necessarily the best singer. She's a bit pitchy and flat, and she's like just wobbly when it comes to singing. They highlight that Ilya is the best singer. But yeah, we show a bit of Lexi, and Lexi is also like a pretty good singer, but her skill set is more of like dancing. So she's just like, again, like just a bit wobbly with it. This episode, they highlight the vocal training because they plan on sending some of the girls to the studio to sing an original song. They also introduce the fact that they have a therapist because this is where morale starts to kind of get lower in a sense, or kind of just like the girls are starting to get a little confused and start to be like where are we exactly like moving because they keep sending like new girls. But he irritates me later on. I think he did a bad job with telling these girls, especially like teenage girls already have such a hard time communicating with each other just because like hormones are at an all-time high, and you just don't really like think. Like, I remember myself as a teenage girl, and I just think I was always jumping to conclusions all the time because I thought that I knew better, and that I thought that other people could read my mind, or I thought that people could just assume this and that. And it's just like it's a confusing era in womanhood. So it's just like this therapist does a terrible job with telling a bunch of girls like, "Hey, you guys should communicate with each other so you don't feel resentment towards this person." Because they literally start to feel resentment towards people. But yeah, they show the different journeys that it takes for the girls to find their voices, which I thought was really interesting. Again, like this documentary is interesting to see behind the scenes of like what it takes for the girls to do it. Here's where I again start to think like too much Adela, too much Adela, too much. I get it because the thing is that Adela plays such a big role in, I guess, like the lives of the other girls because she plays such like a mom figure. Like the moms and the leaders of the group are Adela and Sophia, but Adela is more of like the nurturing like mom, like I'm here for you, like you can come cry on my shoulder type thing, where Sophia is more of like the natural born leader. But Adela is kind of like the rock for a lot of girls, specifically Megan and Carly and Emily. So they send Megan, Lexi, Adela, and Carly to the recording studio and they record their first original song. I'm assuming that they just start like rolling out the girls into the studio, like slowly, like couple at a time. They introduce Celeste, and low key, you do kind of see like a difference between like how talkative they were with Celeste and with Manon. But yeah, Emily gets her boot off and she gets back to dancing. And this part is so funny. I'm so sorry. And maybe this is a little mean, but the girls get in trouble for breaking the NDA. The way that they break the NDA is that they make private Instagrams where they're all following each other and I guess like post about what's going on, like post at practice, post at the studio, post at this, post at that, and just have private Instagrams like just have like finstas like with each other, and have like when they post stories, they post it on their close friends and they have it like with the girls and stuff like that. And they're not supposed to do that, and Missy, the manager, found out, and Missy, like, immediately was like, "Girls, what the fuck?" And, like, breaking an NDA, like breaking the confidentiality. Personally, to me, I understand like the girls like to teenage girls, again, this is where I say like guys, they're teenage girls. Of course they did something stupid. But the thing about teenage girls is that everyone has a Finsta. Everybody has a Finsta. I don't use it anymore, but I still have it like logged into my phone. Like every teenage girl had a Finsta. So it was just like a natural thing to them. Like obviously, like I can see how they didn't think anything of it because to them they're like, "Oh, it's just like a WhatsApp group chat." But y'all could have made a WhatsApp group chat then. I don't know. It was just like, "Well, girl, why did you just do that then?" But Naisha is eliminated from the running to be in the girl group because her account specifically had more followers than the girls at Hybex Geffen, allegedly, because Naisha says no and Missy says yes, I checked it myself and there was people that were not a part of this program that were following you. And Naisha had posted her singing the original song that they had recorded. So it was like extra breaking the NDA. So they sent her home. But yeah, as I said, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but Lexi does get injured. She has like a hip injury, so she can't dance. So this is where she starts feeling a bit insecure because dancing is her strong suit and not singing. But they love her voice. Like they eat it up every single time. And she does have a beautiful voice. Like she sings good, especially in the booth. Like it sounded really good. Yeah, but she has her hip surgery. And then this is where again we start to get the girls start to feel like confused. Like they're like, when is it gonna end? Like when are we at least like how to have a timeline? They're just like in el aire in it all. Like they're just like yeah. You know, again, as we the audience knows, they want to do the Dream Academy show. They want to have a competition between the girls and they need 20 to 25 girls in order to do so. So they're still casting and they're like, we just need that vocalist that has that drive, that like it factor, that voice. Cue Laura. The way that she literally goes, and then her little name thing comes up, Laura, vocal number one. Cunt. Cunt. But yeah, we are introduced to Laura finally, and next episode. So now we've hit up episode 4. They finally tell the girls that they're going public. They don't say anything about Dream Academy yet, but they say that for the course of the next 12 weeks, we will be showing out to the public in order to determine who is going to finally debut. And the girls are like, finally, we're going to debut. Wait, what do you mean by that? Because again, the girls did not know about this. Girls are like, public, you mean like an evaluation? You mean like what do you mean by that? So they're still in the process of casting for the rest of the girls because again, we're still at like 14, 15 girls. So they finally get the rest of the girls, and the rest of the girls are Nayoung, Yunche, Samara, Ua, Hinari, and Mei. Now, they mentioned that the potential vocalist came through like the second half of casting. So, like Lara, Samara, Nayoung, like all of them are like top tier vocalists. And in this episode, the girls are finally like learning how to sing and dance together as a group. So they're learning dance formations and they're learning how to harmonize together. And they're now just like finally getting into the process of like meshing together as a group. Yeah, here because they're performing as a group, the critiques are starting to get harsher and harsher and more nitpicky. It's kind of like RuPaul's Drag Race, where it's like, y'all are so good that we now have to start getting into the specifics, especially because like they've now got the basic fundamentals down and now they have to like figure out how to portray themselves as artists and portray themselves individually yet synchronized. And Son gets like into like a whole like thing with them about like, oh, you guys are only like really covering the songs, you guys aren't like feeling the songs and like performing them as yourselves, and that irritates me. Which I get, like it's now time to start forming the group and start seeing like what girls like actually like click together and look good together. And I want to mention specifically here the wording that they use. The wording that they use for their black and brown girls that are like in this training era right now are very like aggressive. Like it's very like aggressive terminology. They describe the girls as always kind of like aggressive, masculine, arrogant. I'm trying to remember the word that they used for Laura because this they tell Laura like they need to kind of like tone down her personality and the way that she dresses because it's a little too like scandalous. I forgot the exact word that they use. It's not like raunchy, but it's they use a word that I just like they kind of like insinuate that like, oh, she's just wearing something that isn't very like age appropriate, and it's they say like we want to give like don't want to over sexualize, but we also don't want to give Hannah Montana. And it's like, well, why do you think that Laura is over sexualized? Like, I don't know. It's just like, what are you insinuating there, girl? And I just want to like address they use these like aggressive terms towards their black and brown women all the time, and if they don't, they don't address them, period. They barely mention Azrella throughout this whole documentary. The only time that they talk about Azrella, honestly, is when saying like one, that they're surprised that she made it this far, or two, that like, oh, she just like needs to like bring out a personality, like we just don't know who she is yet. And I mean, like, when they talk about Naisha, when they first introduced Naisha, they say, like, oh, we like some, like, actual, like, masculine energy here. And not to say that she isn't giving masculine energy, but it's crazy how she specifically gives you masculine energy. I feel like there's a couple of girls that can give you masculine energy there. Why is it her specifically that gives you masculine energy? You know what I mean? Like, it's always just like, everything's always like a microaggression here. I mean, why else do you think they cut out those two other girls? So the girls get America's Next Top Model type makeovers, and we start to see kind of like their plans for like the design and the uniform and the outfits that they want the girls to wear, the look that they want the girls to show off right now for Dream Academy. They get into filming, they get into recording like the film and the vlogs and the behind the scenes things and the intros. And yeah, right now we're just kind of like shifting from going to just training to now being public. The girls are still kind of like, oh, like la di di da, like it'll be fun. Like we're finally having, like, there's finally a finish line. And it's so funny because it's just like, damn, if only y'all knew. We get into episode 5, and episode 5 is finally the start of Dream Academy, like them releasing videos, them releasing the lives, them releasing the performances, them releasing the vlogs to the public, and they show kind of the perception of at least like commentators and like what the public thinks of them as a whole, or like thinks about Dream Academy, and like, oh my god, like here's Hybe's new girl group, like blah blah blah. This is also, pay attention, like this is where the shift between the girls and Manon happens. They mention that Manon is no longer living with the girls at the house, but living with an aunt because she kept breaking curfew. And Manon says that she's sad to leave the girls, but she just would rather be in a space where she has her own bed or has home cooked meals. And again, this is where I say, like, I wish people express sympathy for Manon for like, this is the first time she's leaving home. If she had a chance to like relieve her homesickness, like, why wouldn't she? But yeah, when seeing this is where people start to clock Manon for being like arrogant. And I'm so sorry. I just can't see her as arrogant or see her as lazy or see her as like not really caring. Like she to me just feels like so genuine and authentic and like so just like soft and kind. Like there's quite literally throughout this like never a moment where you're like, "Ooh, she's kind of nasty for that." Like there's never a moment. There's people like trying to say, but even then it's like, well, no, that wasn't, you're exaggerating now. I don't necessarily think it's a big deal that she had moved in with her aunt. We see that Manon's sister has flown out to stay in LA with her. I don't know if she's there the whole time or if she's just there for a week, but her sister's there. And they have a chat where they talk about essentially like Manon's progress and her like, being a low skill set and she just needs to work on her craft. But Sun says like, like we're not here to find perfection. We're here to find a girl group. So that encourages her, but she says that she's going to skip practice. She doesn't say why. She just says that she's going to skip practice. Now, I'm going to say right here, this is bad on her. She should have not been skipping practice. It is a bit to me like common sense to like if there's 12-hour practices, like obviously these are no joke, like they want me here all the time. But again, she just comes from a different culture. Like I can't assume people just assume all the time. Is that like my common sense is the same as your common sense? Because again, cultural differences just make common sense different. I'm under the impression that Western Europe just has a different approach to like work life balance. They actually do have like you are allowed to miss work and miss school if you are not feeling well. Like that is not punishable. I know that's crazy to hear as an American. And that's the thing is like most of the people here have like come from backgrounds that don't necessarily have that same like work life balance that Western Europe has, like America, Eastern Europe, um, East Asia, like Latin America. Like these are not necessarily like countries that have like very good like work life balance. Like we don't even let pregnant women miss work, man. Like that's how bad. I mean, I don't know about Eastern Europe and East Asia, but at least America, like God forbid you get like a terminal illness, now you're canned as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we just like at least talking as an American from the American experience, we and like our generation, Gen Z, has been like challenging this as of recently. But like our culture, it is ingrained to just like be a slave to the machine, be a slave to capitalism. Yeah, like they just have a different workflow. Like they actually care about their employees and students' well-being. That's crazy, you know? Shocking. Because again, like she's thinking like, okay, it's like 12 hours to like really like maximize the day, but you know, if I'm feeling sore, if I really need the day, like I'm sure they wouldn't want me to like push myself. Like again, like it's just like her culture. Whatever. But it was like wrong of her to skip practice like that. It cuts to the girls practicing and how they're practicing. I think here they're practicing buttons, but you know, they're doing it and it looks kind of wonky without Manon being there. So they're like, damn, like, we'll just have to like picture it like this while Manon's gone. But yeah, they mentioned that they have some frustrations of like not being able to depend on her to show up for practice and how it affects them as a team. But I want to point out, at least, like, again, I'm only taking stuff that I'm seeing on the show, but they never actually tell her to her face this. They never actually tell her, like, you know, like, I feel like you're not putting in as much effort and it like even throws us off. So if you could please like come to practice as often as you can, like it really like help out. I feel like this is where the communication skills really aren't in effect. And this is where again I say the therapist should have been doing his job and telling them like, girls, but tell her what you are upset about and tell her why it upsets you. You know what I mean? Like just like lack of any like, you know. And then I also want to say that I don't think that this is a new development either. I don't think Manon not showing up is a new thing. I think honestly the whole time she was just like not going to practice if she didn't feel good for it, like if she was sore. She says it later on. She just viewed the training school as like if I'm feeling sick or if I'm feeling sore, I should stay home and like fix myself and adjust myself. And that was clearly not the case. But they only start having issues with it now because this is actually now starting to affect them. They had seen the like midway votes at the time and they had felt weird about being ranked by the public and being ranked in such like a subjective way and not the way that they were used to, which was like the monthly evaluations and like the best to the worst. Instead now it's just like all subjective. We have people like Sophia, Laura, Nayang that are immediately loved by the public. There's Samara, there's Manon, there's Yunche. They're all adored by the public immediately. Sophia has the backings of the Philippines. Laura has a lot of the brown girls rooting for her and like, you know, really calling out for her. A lot of girls love a hot girl. People love hot girls. So people loved Laura and her whole vibe and energy. People loved Manon for her immediate like star quality and you're kind of just like drawn to her. Like I feel like it goes beyond just like pretty. Like that was a comment that kind of irritated me a lot. Like I just think she has an aura about her that really draws people towards her. Cuz there's so many people that are pretty. There's so many people especially on that show that are drop dead gorgeous. I can name like all of the girls honestly and be like, Sophia's gorgeous, Lara's gorgeous, Celeste is gorgeous, Marquise is gorgeous. Like there's gorgeous girls everywhere. The comments of like, oh, she's just getting votes because she's pretty, and it's like, well, are y'all not pretty? Shit. But you know, it's now starting to affect, their kind of mentality and their attitudes towards Manon. Because again, this is not an issue that's brought up before. It's only brought up now that Dream Academy has started. And now just subjective. It's no longer whoever works the hardest will be at the top. Missy in this scene also really irritates me because she has this whole tangent where she says like star quality girls always have a sort of like arrogance towards them, and she doesn't put in the work, and if it was up to me, she would not be in the group. Are you not the boss? 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 Why are you not just telling her, hey girl, why aren't you going to practice? Oh yeah, it's not good enough. You have to come to practice all the time. You have the jurisdiction to be like, even like, not, don't be mean about it, obviously, but you can be like strict about it. Like, you're the boss, you're the manager. What do you mean? Why are you ranting to the camera as if you can't do anything about it? Like, obviously, to me, the girls, they should have tried to communicate with Manon, but also to me, I'm thinking like, okay, a bunch of teenage girls aren't going to come up to the girl to be like, hey, show up to practice if their own boss isn't going over to tell them, hey, come to practice. Like, it was obvious that like I just don't get why Missy didn't herself like tell her to come to practice. I don't get it. I don't. So the girls prepare for mission 1, perform mission 1, and release mission 1. We see the whole process. For mission 1, they're broken up into 4 groups, 2 vocal groups and 2 dancing groups. They perform Still With You, Happier Than Ever, and like some mashup of another song. I don't know what the other song called. You're asking me to remember too many words. And then there's Pink Venom and OMG. For this one, they do show off, the lack of Manon. They show the like motherly instincts of Adela and her helping out not only her teammates but other people. She's trying to like boost up morale and stuff like that. And again, they love showing it and bringing it up and showing how much of a rock she is. And she's especially the rock to Megan. She's the rock to Carly and Emily, but Megan really takes comfort in like Adela. Like, that's her best friend in like this whole thing right now. So after they release the videos, the girls finally start to actually pay attention to what the public is thinking of them again. The rankings come out and they see and they're like, whoa, it's crazy that Adela is 20th because Adela works harder than anyone else here. It is now, again, they're moving from a mindset of like, if you work the hardest, if you do the most that you possibly can, then you will like, what's the saying, you will like bask in the fruits of your labor or whatever. Like, you will win in the end as long as you put in the work. Whereas now, again, it's subjective. Like, it's all just about like, well, who the fans like. It's just like immediate like connection with the fans. It has nothing to do with like so and so being untalented. It has nothing to do with no one liking Adela. It was just not enough people liking Adela or more people liking certain other people. Again, there's only 6 spots, and as viewers we're not getting the full picture, I guess you can say, that would sway a lot of people. This being just seeing the performance videos and like certain vlogs of the girls and certain vlogs of the girls together, TikToks that they film together, only judging and only voting based off of results like that did kind of damage the girls and hurt the girls and like actually getting viewers and votes, because I will say, like, a lot of the time people do vote for like the underdog, or people vote for people who put in a lot of work, or people who like genuinely seem to like dedicate a lot to this. An example of this would be in Girls Planet, Dayan, who ends up debuting in Kepler. She is like one of the centers. She's the Korean center of the show. However, she doesn't really get the attention of the viewers until halfway through the show, where she then is one of the main choreographers for her team's like performance, which was Ice Cream by Blackpink. And that's when viewers really started to like her, and she boosted up like immediately in the rankings. She ended up debuting, I think, like fifth, fourth or fifth or something like that. But she ends up debuting because of people loving the hard work that she put in and the dedication, and how much of like a leader and how much she was actually helping her teammates out and like taking the lead in this. Like stuff like that where it's behind the scenes, where it's like, wow, I really like the way that you're helping everyone out. Stuff like that is no longer being taken into consideration with this, because we're only seeing performance and vlogs, which again, I love Katseye and I would not change them for the world, and I'm really glad for the outcome. Like I'm not saying that they should have changed anything. I'm just saying like it changed a lot of different things and a lot of different factors. It's like little butterfly effects. Like had they changed this, the lineup would have been completely different. Had they done this instead, the lineup would have been completely different. So it is just like, and I think like I honestly think Manon, regardless, would have still been in it. I think people just like loved her star potential and loved her star quality. She really was like, I want to say like a Ricky of the season from Boys Planet, where it's like we don't really see a lot of her, especially because they do talk about her negatively or try to show her in a negative light, but we are just so drawn to her and know that she has like a lot of potential that they aren't untapping into, that we just have to vote for her. And when they did debut, they did show like how much untapped potential they had, and how much like they kind of like were kind of like hiding the star in a sense. So I think she still would have debuted regardless, but stuff like that made people like Adela all the way at the bottom. We have Lara, and this is one of the moments that people say that Lara is more of a mean girl. But again, we have to remember like teenage girls. This and most K-pop stands are like women, which is why I'm like, y'all, like, don't play in my face like this. We all were high schoolers. Don't piss me off. You've said a shady thing behind the backs of people before, blah blah blah. I'm not saying it was right for her to do. I'm not saying it was good of her to do. And she was in the wrong for it. And I hope she has taken accountability for it. But I'm not gonna judge her for saying that shit. And again, I feel like it's a lot of like misplaced anger and misplaced resentment, because they're more upset that the public is not perceiving their friend the way that they want them to. They're not perceiving her the way that makes it like, oh, she's a shoo into the group. Like no one is voting for her. She's 20th. She's last. Because again, she was an OG girl. Like she's a part of the OG girls. She's been there since the start. She has been always like on top. She was always like top 5 of the monthly evaluations type thing. She works harder than no one else. She really wants this, blah blah blah. So they're just like kind of shocked that she's so low, because they think that she deserves to debut so much. I'm sorry to say, but hard work isn't all that it takes to be in the group. I feel like the thing that wasn't translating when it came to Adela and the viewer is that we didn't know what type of artist she would be. Like we can already kind of tell like who Lara was, we could tell who Manon was, we can tell who Sophia was, we could tell who Nayoung was, we could tell who Megan was, we could tell who Daniela was, we could tell who Yoonchae was, but when it came to like the lower ranked girls, it was just more of like, what new and fresh do you bring to the table? What type of artist do you bring to the table? And I feel like she was so in focused on like hard work and being the best and being so calculated that she didn't think about like, how do I want to be perceived by the public? Like, she didn't think about that, and she didn't think about like, what artist do I want to be? And obviously, like, all we had were like a vlog and her performance in Pink Venom. And that's, I'm not saying like that's enough to like judge a book by its cover, but it is like, these are factors that are out of your control and are out of Manon's control. So the off comments were just like crazy. Lara goes on to say, like, oh, it's so crazy that to see people that don't show up be number 4 just because they're pretty. I feel like she kind of implanted that in the other girls. But yes, they hold a therapy session without Manon. This is again where I say fuck that therapist, because that therapist sucks at his fucking job and is like helping the girls feel worse about like he doesn't offer like any actual like help or advice or like anything to like make this like thought or feeling go away. Like he just is like, well, you kind of have to throw away the negatives and the positives. But the girls are essentially saying like the positives and negatives of like going through this whole public thing. Daniela says how, the Americans aren't getting nearly as much love as everyone else because I guess we're like sparse, or, we're just not as popular as the girls that are getting voted by their country. The only one from America that's really like thriving in this is Laura, because she is holding it down for the brown girls. The Indian community and the Indian American community was very like into Laura and like into her whole thing, so she was very just like immediate top pick. But Daniela and Megan expressed that they are just lower in ranking due to the American side just not necessarily picking them. We see that Celeste says that people are saying that she's not Argentinian. That one was crazy. I didn't catch that, but people were saying that she wasn't Argentinian because she didn't have the accent that Argentinians have. What do you mean? Like, just because she don't got the accent? Damn. There's Sophia, who says like she loves the fact that the Philippines is really writing for her. And I also want to say this is episode 5. We got like 2 seconds of Yunche. We got 2 seconds of Yunche when she first came in like the episode before, where she does like the little like skill assessment, and that's it. That's all we get. And then them trying to give her a nickname, and she's like, "No, I like Yunche. Don't call me no nicknames. I like Yunche." She doesn't say it like that, but she's like, they're like, "YC, YC," which is like, girl, you didn't even try. Damn. But she was like, Yunche, Yunche. Yeah. But like, where the fuck is she? Like, they're barely showing me her, and I it pisses me off because I was really excited to see her, because I feel like we didn't get a lot of her anyways during Dream Academy. Anyway, they have this little therapy session. Manon isn't a part of it. They say how, oh, it's just frustrating. Adela goes on this whole thing of like, oh, the Americans are feeling what a Slovak experiences, where we feel like no one's really like there for us or representing us, which I was like, listen, I understand like Eastern Europe things, whatever, but you cannot tell me that you as a white woman are less represented than me, a Latina, Daniela, or Megan, a Chinese American, or who else is like lower ranked? I think like Azrella and Carly, like. But she says like, oh, they're experiencing what a Slovak would experience. We're not really represented. And then there's people like Manon, which I was like, are you implying that there's more representation for Manon than you? Because if we're going based on like nationality instead of like race, because like, girl, if we're going based off nationality, like Manon is Swiss and Ghanaian, like where is that representation? Oh, you mean because I know you're not trying to tell me that a black girl is more represented than you, but whatever. So they have this, they say like she is pretty, but it's unfair that she's getting voted just because of this. And you know what? Like, fine. You're right. It is unfair that people are voting based off of just like vibes instead of hard work. That's just sadly how the cookie crumbles. Like, it didn't have to be like this. Hybe could have just picked the girls that they wanted to. We already knew kind of who they wanted. But again, they don't tell her to her face, and the fucking therapist doesn't tell her. Communicate, communicate. Okay. Oh my god. So they pack for Korea because a mission 2 would take place in Korea, but there's a chance you could be packing to go home. Eliminations happen. And eliminations happen. They bring out this freaking Siri little TV or whatever. I don't know. I think it was dumb. Again, survival shows, they usually have an MC, like an actual person with a mic saying, like, okay, and this spot goes to this person. There's someone like verbally saying it. But instead they get a little Siri. Okay. Whatever. So here they're supposed to eliminate 2 people. They eliminate Adela and Hinari. So everyone is really bummed about Adela leaving. Again, she was really like the mother figure, and she really was like there for a lot of the girls. And she made it a little uncomfortable for me. She was like, it's okay. I already have enough tears. I already had enough tears. The people who make it, the people who deserve it, I hope you make it. There's still a lot here. So I hope you make it. And it was like, what was that supposed to mean? Like the person you're shading isn't even in the room to catch your shade. So who are like because you're on like I thought you were only shading Manon, but like who else do you think doesn't deserve to be here? Because it's not like shady for no reason. Because like the girl you're being shady towards isn't even here. So who are you? Who are you doing this performance for? I'm so sorry. At this point, I'm like still have kind of like sympathy for Adela. Like I'm like yeah, it just like must be so frustrating to put in the work and put in so many hours to then like have it all just thrown away because of like subjectively like people just like another girl more than me. People like a lot of girls more than you. I don't know personally. Girl, you should have got the Slovaks to vote for you. She goes on a whole like rampage where it's like again like Manon was safe, like she was immune. So who did you want to go home today instead of you? Like you guys already knew that Manon was going to be immune. But whatever. It's really hard for everyone. Everyone's hugging her goodbye and everyone goes off to Korea. We get like a goodbye from Adela and Hinari where they say like what they gained from this and what they'll like take away from it. But now the girls are off to Korea. Manon was not there for eliminations. I didn't even say. Manon was not there because she got COVID. She was sick with COVID, which is again like here's the thing. Like her missing this time was valid because like she's actually sick and like this time with a sickness so like you're supposed to stay home. Like it was a common cold, like I guess they would have told her like still come in. This is COVID this time, so she does have to be quarantined. But it was just badly timed because the girls girl, they're pissed. They're pissed. But yeah, we move on to episode 6. So the girls are off to Korea and mission 2 starts. The girls are assigned their mission 2 like performances and it is 2 teams of Anti-Fragile and 2 teams of Fearless. So for this elimination, depending on your team, you get immunity. Like if your team, like team A and team B of Anti-Fragile and team A and team B of Fearless, if you win, you gain immunity. So even if you're low in rankings, you can get immunity this round. Now we see that the girls are still like really going through it since Adela's elimination, especially Emily and Megan and Carly. But Megan specifically, like she says that she's not good with change and she's not good with such sudden change. And this elimination, she was just like not mentally prepared for, and she wasn't mentally prepared to say goodbye to one of her best friends like this. And when Manon finally catches her flight and goes to Korea after recovering from COVID, it is peak isolation. Like they gave her such a cold shoulder. This is the scene where we get Laura kind of laughing at her for coming back. And then we have Manon. I don't know. I think it's Celeste. She tells Celeste that she just got the dirtiest look from Sophia and she doesn't know why. But yes, production in the little confessional ask her, like, why have you been missing so much? Like, be honest, please. She goes and says, like, I viewed it as school. I just thought if I was sick or if I was sore, I would be able to just like stay home and recoup. I saw that other girls were also staying home, but they had like more serious sickness or more serious injuries that she just, I guess, like didn't account for. It was like, like same thing. I'm sure to her, she's envisioning like if anyone was to feel sore or not good enough to perform or like to train, I'm sure that they would also be able to stay home. Like I'm sure like she's thinking like everyone's in the same boat. Again, no one like tells her off. No one says anything this whole time to her, like to her face. But Sophia says so in the last episode during the therapy session that she doesn't understand Manon's frustrations for why they're frustrated. But it seems as though, like, again, like they're not talking to her face to face. It's just more of like they're throwing nasty looks at her or nasty attitude, like kind of like bad vibes towards her. And she's obviously getting irritated because it's like, well, like, people like Lexi or Emily also sit out. Like, and yes, they had like valid reason to sit out. I'm not saying that Manon doesn't have valid reason, but just more of like, it's just like they, again, miscommunication. There was just a misunderstanding, quite literally misunderstanding. But yeah, the girls go on about how they just haven't built that trust with Manon and they don't really trust her to be there for them as a team because she just hasn't been there enough. Which I think is valid. Like as a teammate, yeah, like it does fuck up the formations if she's not there. But again, I'm like, well, y'all aren't telling her that she's fucking up the formations. Like, just tell her. But yes, it is valid that they are, saying like, we just don't trust her enough. We just like don't really like want like they just think that she'll always be like this, I guess. You know what I mean? But Manon says that she does want to take accountability and she will start to take accountability for herself. I get it. Like, I get them thinking that she's just being a bad, like, teammate and things like that. Like, they're just assuming the worst in her. But yeah, we move on to the teams. We go Anti Fragile Team B kind of has issues. There's multiple issues. One, fact that Team A has 3 of the top 6, so it kind of discourages them and kind of like already gives like sets the tone for them not being fully there and fully present. Like, I feel like they kind of give up early on. Like, they try their hardest still, like, regardless, but they already are kind of under the impression that Team A will win. They were right. But that is the first tension. The second tension is that Adela has left, and Adela's 2 best friends are in this team, Carly and Megan. Megan is again still dealing with it. She says like she doesn't think of a change. It really is stressing her out, and she doesn't really know how to continue on or how to like bounce back from this yet. She's still trying to like find her footing. And Ilya, a part of the team, has kind of replaced Adela's spot and is like performing her routine, I believe. Is kind of under the impression or under the feeling that Carly and Megan are looking at her as if she has stolen Adela's spot, that she does not deserve to be there, and that Adela should be in her spot instead of her. I cannot tell you, I can't tell her if she's right or not. Like, they don't really give us enough of like what Carly and Megan are doing to really like for me to see that. I don't really think so from what I see, but again, like, who knows? But this is where I think like the competition really starts to get into the girls' head. Like, it starts like literally making them start turning on each other. Like, it's just making them kind of feel like I have to keep my cards close to myself. Like, the girls that I thought were my friends are now like my biggest competition and are like constantly being pit against me in a different way than before. The competition is really starting to get through these girls, like genuinely like starting to fuck with them. Yeah, they're still mentioning Adela all the time. And then we finally got a bit of Yunche. Thank fucking Jesus. We got her with her parents eating at a restaurant and her discussing about the fact that she was a K-pop trainee for 2 years and that she's really excited to like do this journey and she really wants to be a part of the girl group. And I was like, girl, that's it. Like, I want, like, I just hate the fact that they cut Yoon so much out of it. Because the thing is, she comes in the second half of like them finding trainees. And I guess, like, in the timeline of the documentary, it just didn't fit enough to like give her enough arc before Dream Academy. But it was just like, ugh. And I hate the fact that Netflix episodes are now 8 episodes long. Like, especially because you have more footage. Like, you can make it longer if you need to. Like, I want to see the actual girls in Katseye, please, and not just like this drama. Afterwards, they film it, they release it, but we get the girls eating Korea and like finally getting the halfway rankings for the challenge. And as predicted, Team A of Anti Fragile is winning, and Team B of Fearless is winning. Nayoung and Manon were kind of talking about it too, where Nayoung was saying that, oh, like, you're definitely going to win the rankings and I'm a little stressed. And Manon's telling her, like, girl, you were number one the rankings. Like, you can chill. Like, they're not gonna get rid of you. Like, they need you. And I thought it was a cute moment, but the lunch at the other table, however, was not a cute moment. Carly is really stressing and she is fully determined that they are going to eliminate her. Carly says it's rigged because, one, again, 3 of the top 6 in one group and then like none of the top 6 in one group. We had one, I lied. We had Samara, but that's it. So she says that she had way many better takes than the take that they ended up going for her fan cam and her like cut of the performance. Now we get into the eliminations. These eliminations are tough. These eliminations, so like, they're evil. They're evil for this because not only is it like eliminating 4 girls all in one go, but they also ask each girl individually 2 questions. Who would you want to debut with you if you were to make your own dream lineup? And who do you think is going to be eliminated today? They did this to stir the pot and they do everything to stir the pot. And this is why I say, like, while they are right with like the whole like it brings in viewers and it brings in this, it also brings in a lot of unnecessary discourse and a lot of just like bullying towards certain people. But I digress. So they ask, and at the top is like Sophia and Nayang, and at the bottom we have for one vote, like one girl voted for them to be in their group. We have Celeste, Manon, and Ilya. For people who did not get any votes, so no one wanted you in the group, was Brooklyn and Ua. It's tough. It's tough. And for the girls that they thought were going to be eliminated, most people said Ilya and Manon. So yeah. So Ilya takes this shit to heart. And not to say that I wouldn't like I'm gonna say I'm not like better than this girl, whatever. But she really takes this to heart when she sees her like one vote, she's like, okay, okay. And then I guess like people thinking that she was gonna go, she's also like, okay, okay. And so this time around, Siri does some fuck shit where when like saying like, "Oh, so and so, please come get this invitation." "Oh, I'm going to call out your name." Pause for dramatic effect. And then say you will not be receiving an invitation. They did that to Brooklyn and I forgot that they did that. Because I watched Dream Academy when it was happening and I forgot that they did that to that poor girl. That poor girl was looking around like, does that mean I stay? Like the immediate just like evil. They were so flawed for that. Genuinely speaking, evil. Evil. So the four girls that are eliminated are Ilya, Brooklyn, Carly, and May. We get Ilya like telling Sophia, like as everyone's trying to hug and say goodbye and say, like, oh my god, like this is so unfair, this is so like evil, this is so terrible. We get Ilya telling Sophia that you voted me out. And this is where I'm like, again, like it's just a high pressure cooker, so I can't like fault this girl for feeling the way that she did because it's just honestly a lot of psychological warfare going on. But I felt so bad for Sophie. Like imagine like again, like I'm making again it's a group of 5 people. There's 20 of y'all. I can't pick all of my friends. This isn't RuPaul's best friend race. But, like to hear my friend like as I'm sad that my friend's going, my friend is also now like kind of blaming me in a sense. Like, damn, as if that would change the judges' minds. Because again, who are they gonna pick if not you, girl? Who are they gonna pick if not you? But it was evil. Like, girl, Lexi checked out at that very moment. She was pissed the fuck off, and I would be too. Just I felt so bad for Lexi in that moment too because she had said in the confessional that she felt like she wasn't herself anymore, like she didn't feel like Lexi anymore at that point. And it was so just sad because again, they just did not tell the girls to prepare mentally to be perceived by the public and to literally be judged by the public. Like it was just like so unfair. But yeah, so elimination 2 happens. They say goodbye and on to episode 7. The program has just changed so much since the start, and the girls are at the lowest they have been mentally and physically. Honestly, the CEO bitch fucking pisses me the fuck off. She goes, "Oh, the girls, it might have been too far, but we got high ratings, so who gives a fuck?" I will fucking ooh, don't play me. Don't play with me right now. And yeah, so we get a glimpse of the 4 girls like packing up and like getting ready to leave. They lied to Brooklyn. They told her that they would not be airing this part where like they're picking their own girl group and then saying who they think is going to be eliminated. They told her that they weren't going to be airing that and they 100% did. They 100% aired it and everyone saw it. But Ilya goes on the little tirade of like, "Oh, I was under the impression that I was actually friends with these girls, and to see that not like only one of them picked me was like really terrible." Carly was being more sympathetic, where she was like, "I like it sucks that got like I think she had like 3 or 4 because she was like, I have way more friends here than 3 or 4 friends." But I know that it was just as hard for these girls to pick groups because you only have 5 spots. And Brooklyn, paints insight to Ilya, where she's like, "Well, girl, at least you got one. I got zero. And if that means no one wants me here. And if that means no one wants me here, then what am I doing here?" And she was valid for that. I just feel so bad for like the mental toll that this whole thing took on the girls. Because again, I'm thinking like these are high schoolers. Like I'm imagining high school me being put in a scenario like this, and I just think I'd cry every day. But yeah, and they just talk about how like they were just misled and they were told that like if you just worked hard, you would be in the group. And I feel like that really resonated a lot with Brooklyn and Carly, especially because they were always kind of like in the middle of the rankings, anyways, when it came to like monthly evaluations. But to them, it was like if I just work hard, if I just put more hours into practice, I will be what they want. I will become what they want. And now it's like, again, completely subjective, up to the eye of the beholder. May also mentions the fact that like again like she would go back into trying to be in a K-pop group, but she's 18 right now and they're in a weird era where like they're only really picking minors. I won't say girl it's impossible, like they're still debuting adults. It's just less adults, I'd say. But honestly it's so irritating. I can make a whole video about that too, about how that pisses me off, but I'll leave it for another day. So in this episode they show I don't know why we keep bringing this bitch back and mentioning her. They show Adela's like new like original song that she posts on TikTok where she talks about how I'm not your dream bitch and how I tried to do everything I could to be who you wanted me to be and I just couldn't fulfill it, and your dream bitch is off doing nothing and you're impressed. Can you come up with something else? Can you move the fuck on? Like the thing is, again, I had sympathy for her up until she said like the shade, like the actual like the difference between being shady and being a bully. I think what Laura was doing was being more shady, whereas I think Adela was more of an actual bully. Cause she's like legit name dropping her, legit like, oh, she's just pretty, like blah blah blah. Like she's like legit name dropping her. She's insulting her whenever she wants. She made a whole freaking song about her. Like, if I was living so rent free in someone's head, damn. Like, that song pissed me off. I was just like, ooh, wow. Whatever. So she does her little song, and we cut to Adela and Naisha talking in LA together. Again, I don't know why we're talking and we're bringing them back. They were eliminated. Adela starts talking and starts saying how much like this experience is taken away from her and how much she's learning from it and how it sucks that she was let go just because of like low votes, and how she just doesn't understand why they kept her for so long if they were just going to let her go so easily. And she mentions how like I was working there all the time and I was there all the time, and then there's people like Manon who aren't showing up, like I'm still like I would be there more. And I was like, yeah, no, she just doesn't show up sometimes, and it's so just frustrating how she gets to get away with it. Which again, like, why don't you tell Missy to fucking say something then? Why aren't you guys telling Missy like, hey, like, are you ever gonna tell something to Manon? Like, I don't want to be the one to tell her like to come to practice. Like, there's so many things that y'all could have done. So many things. There's so many things. I just stuff like that. I was just like, ooh, but now you're being bitter. And I hate a bitch that does the whole like, woe is me type thing. Like, I'm very much like, I don't like judging other people because I don't know what they go through. I hate a bitch that's woe is me and is, oh, like, Manon doesn't deserve it. And it's like, how do you know? Like, just cause like, yeah, it pissed me off. Move on. This is where Manon tells Missy that she wants to have a talk with the girls and finally discuss and get to the bottom of like the weird energy between them. And she just wants to talk and to be able to be like, hey, I want to be there. I want to show up. I want this just as bad as anyone else. So, and Missy's like, of course, like, I'll encourage that. Like, I'm glad you're finally, poniéndole la pilas. She encouraged it and she got all the girls together and they talked in the practice room. They talk in a little circle. And this is where I have to remind everyone, I'm going to touch your hand when I say it. We did not get the whole conversation. You think the conversation was a 2 to 5 minute conversation? No. We did not get the whole conversation. I think there's a lot of people saying like, "Oh, she didn't get to say what she wanted to say. She didn't get to say what she wanted to say. She got interrupted. She got interrupted." I think you guys are doing way too much and are like over analyzing it, if it makes sense. So, Manon starts them off by saying, I've just been feeling frustrated. I feel like you guys get upset at me when I miss practice, but I notice that other people miss practice and you don't have the same feelings towards them. Am I reading too deeply into it? Like, is it just in my head? Or like, I just want to give you guys the floor to like help me understand. And then Sophia kicks it off. She starts and says, like, we just feel like so Sophia starts him off and says, we just feel like you aren't present when it comes to the program and the group, and this group requires a lot of hard work and discipline, and we just aren't seeing that from you. We just like don't trust you enough as a teammate. And they get like little nitpicky parts, and again, like she mentions that, oh, we just don't see you like writing notes or like paying attention sometimes. Like I remember this one time, like one of the dance coaches had to like call your attention, but we have seen throughout the show Manon taking notes. Like we have seen that like actually legitimately. So it's just one of those things where it's like, when you're pissed off at someone and like the littlest things they do like piss you off even more, and you're like, oh, and another thing, oh, I just saw that, and another thing. Like it was just like that. I think people were taking it too like crazy, where they were like, oh my god, like Sophia like mentioning the one time that she wasn't paying attention was like, yeah, because she's pissed off at her. She's made herself pissed at Manon. Like they've made themselves mad at Manon, if it makes sense. Like Manon hasn't, yes, she was wrong for missing practice, but they again could have communicated and told her from the jump when they first were irritated with her that, hey, I don't like it when you don't show up to practice because it feels like you're not working as hard as everyone else. And she would have situated herself. But instead, they kept it, and it festered and it festered, and the little things just kept adding up and adding up and adding up. And that's the whole thing. This thing, y'all are so dramatic. But Sophia says, like, we don't see you paying attention. Manon tries to say, like, I do write notes and I do pay attention. Sophia says, like, oh, but there was this one time you weren't. So, and, like, there's a moment where Manon goes, like, okay. I will say Missy was annoying for having that little side comment of, like, no, just, like, let her speak and then, like, listen and actually take it in. She stopped talking. You didn't have to say that. She already got that. That's why she stopped talking. The thing is, Sophia isn't like yelling at her or anything like that. She's like talking to her, and like she might be like she might have like a little tone, but it's again, it's just been like festering in her for a minute. Like she knew exactly what she wanted to say. She's just saying like, like we just want you to be present. Sophia literally tells her like, we just want to bring you up with us, and I think that you can do that, and I believe in you. Like she literally says, I believe you can do it. Like I believe that you can bring yourself up with us. And Manon says, that was sweet of you to say. And then it goes to Laura, and Laura says, I really appreciate you coming to us and like talking this out. No one wants beef. Like we all want to be cool with each other. And I'm just glad that we like finally like talked it through. I was just watching it and was thinking like, well, guys, it got resolved. What do you talk? Like it's resolved now. At least with the people, listen, hey, at least with the people I care about, it's resolved. I don't give a fuck if Adela doesn't like her. I don't give a fuck. Because guess who's famous? Guess who's a star? Like, I don't give a fuck. I give a fuck that Laura, Sophia, and Manon cleared it up on the remix. Like, they literally leave that conversation and they leave it and like they put it on the floor. Yeah, that's it. They have a group hug in the end. They say like Daniela like tells her like, you got this, like you just need to put in the effort. Laura then in the confessional says like, I'm so ready to forgive and forget. Like I will put this in the past and put it behind us if she just meets us halfway. And the issue, I'm telling you, this is episode 7. This is halfway through episode 7. It never happens again. It never happens again. The issue resolves itself, and that's it. And I will say, at least not Sophia and Laura, but the girls that were like, oh, it sucks that she wasn't showing up, like blah, blah, blah. The girls that said that and like made her, come out and be like, I want to prove myself. I want to like make sure the girls know that I'm here for the right reasons and I want this. They fucked themselves over because the top 2 of this elimination round were going to get eliminated. Had Manon still been like missing practice, Missy would have made sure that she was out. But now Missy had no reason to really get Manon out. Like she still says like, oh, she just like still needs to put in more effort, but she can no longer say she's not hungry for this, that she doesn't want this. So they had no real she has no real reason to push for Manon's elimination. Cause trust, she would have eliminated Manon if given the chance. So they really did shoot themselves in the foot. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sure Laura and Sophia didn't care because to them, maybe like obviously you want to like keep like, oh, I probably won't just so you're not disappointed. But they probably had like, I'm gonna debut, girl. I'm a debut. But yeah. So during this, as I said before in the last elimination, Lexi checked out immediately after that. Like she was pissed. She wasn't even crying. She was just like face drop. So they pull Lexi to the side and tell her, like, hey, girl, we know that you had a conversation with us the other day saying that you wanted out. We wanted to work it out with you, but you've been missing practice for 10 days. So it's clear that you don't want to be here anymore. So we're going to have to let you go. She goes, yeah, perfect. she she didn't want to be there anymore. And this is where I say like they should have been clear about Dream Academy because there's many people like Lexi who would have just not gone through like so much heartache and so much like mental strain and mental toll if they had just been told from the beginning. Cause she even says like I was asking, they said no, it was not a survival show. I just that's just like I don't like the fact that it started actually like pitting us against each other and like putting us against each other. And I just have to think more about like myself and my mental health. And I'm like, good on you, girl. Period. And I low-key think that she changed their plans for like the image or like the look that they wanted Katseye to have. I think they wanted Katseye to have more of like a dreamy, like feminine look because Lexi was like in there, she was gonna debut. Had she still been there, she would have debuted 100%. They wanted her so bad. Both Hybe and Geffen wanted her, so it like really did like mess up their plans a little. So I think they went like more for like the hot energy because like most of the girls are like very like caliente. Like obviously they can fit the dreamy fit, but like they went for like more of like the Bratz girl concept. I don't know how to explain it because it's not necessarily like it's like young women being like pretty and hot and like whatever. So I think they would have went more of like the Winx Club. Like they still have like the Winx Club esqueness of it, but they also added Bratz to it, if that makes sense. But yeah, during this, again, this is where I say like high boycott because everyone every day is getting injured over there. But Marquise, Samara, and Sophia down for the count. Samara had a fucked up knee. Sophia was sick, like throwing up sick. And Marquise had like a spasm in her back. Sophia still keeps it pushing, and I think that they should have forced her to go home and rest. I think they should have been preparing more for like her quick recovery rather than like her pushing herself so much. And I understand because it was like the last elimination, she want to make sure, like obviously she's going to be pushing. Like they just like they're gonna exploit whenever they can exploit. So she was like obviously like I need to debut, so I'm gonna do this whether I'm gonna throw up on this freaking stage or not. And they were like, okay, queen, good. And it was just like, damn, like y'all can't send her home or some shit. This is where we also started to see the girls get closer with Manon and start bonding with Manon. See how all they had to do was fucking talk it out? Damn, if only they had a therapist to tell them to do this shit earlier. They get their first taste of like virality with buttons. They go like multiple parts of that performance go viral. The intro goes viral, the chair moment goes viral, and the choreo for the chorus goes viral. Like episode 8 comes out and we're on to third eliminations. I want to say for not the final time, but the most real time. Fuck Missy. And I hope that, ooh, I wish ill things towards her. I wish ill things towards her. I don't know if y'all peeped that I said that my top 3 were Manon, Lara, and Nayoung. But yeah, my top 3 were Lara, Manon, and Nayoung. And guess who gets eliminated this round? Nayoung, because Missy opened her big fucking mouth and is like, oh, I don't think that she wants to debut in this group. I think she wants to be a soloist. blah 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 blah. Like I don't really think that she wants to be in this group. Oh, she doesn't want to be in the group. She doesn't want to be in the group. After this, after this, she competes on a show called Girl on Fire for a vocal like focused girl group. She still wants to be in a girl group. Shocker. It's almost as if she wouldn't have done this in the first place if she didn't want to be in a girl group. The fuck? You just wanted her out. You didn't want her at the end of the day. And that's it. That's it. That's it. Y'all just wanted an excuse to get rid of her. Whatever. I'm still waiting for you to debut, Not Young. I will support you so hard. So hard. I'm waiting for that group to debut. But they eliminate 3 this round. They eliminate Nayoung, Celeste, and Ua. After this elimination, which is like easier done than the second elimination, they are finally moving towards the finale. They show the girls like each calling their family to be like, I'm in the top 10, I'm in the top 10, I'm in the top 10. Samara is down for the count because of her knee again, and this is where she starts to get exposed for her weirdo behavior. Her weirdo behavior this time around. I hate that the fact that they mention it, but they don't say like what she actually did. So I'm here to tell you what she actually did. Her TikTok likes were public, and so people were, looking at it and paying attention to it, and she was liking Zionist TikToks and really racist Indian TikToks for some reason. And it sucks because while we were in Dream Academy, like watching it, it seemed like Laura and her were really close. And as soon as that like becomes public, they're no longer together. They're no longer like near each other or anything. So I just felt so bad for Laura to like know that someone that you felt as a friend is like laughing about your race behind you. Crazy. And doing it publicly. Like your likes are public too, girl. Like you didn't even try to cover your tracks. Shit. But they just say that she's a weirdo. I wish they said why she was a weirdo. Whatever. They then also start practicing and performing for original song. They perform Girls Don't Like and Dirty Water. And then they also perform All the Same with like all 10 girls. It's just this episode is kind of just slower, especially because a lot of it is mostly just stuff we'd already seen in Dream Academy. They show like the behind the scenes of like, oh, we have to do this for voting. We have to start like actually judging for the evaluations and then like juntarlo to then, like actually give the results out. We'll have to do this, we'll have to do that. Like just the behind the scenes process of it. And then the finale, like the actual finale, they show the performances of the girls. They show the behind the scenes of like the girls running around being like, oh my god, is my in-ear okay? Oh my god, like who's supposed to go first? It doesn't matter, like let's just go, stuff like that. And I thought it was really interesting because it's like the same thing except their mics are on the whole time instead of it being off for the finale, so we get to hear actually like what they're saying and what they're thinking. So it was like a cool little experience. But yeah, they also show the girls picking out the names. They go for New Crazy, Katseye, and Dreamscape. I think again they wanted to go the dreamy route. Dreamscape was definitely for Lexi's group, and yeah, so they're like so Cat's Eye, Cat's Eye. New Crazy was stupid. I don't know whose idea that was. So the girls are either really excited or really scared. There's some girls that are manifesting. Emily's like writing down on like pages on pages on pages. There's the talk that Ezrella gives where she's like, listen, I know that both of me and Laura can't be in the group. If Laura's in the group, I'm not in the group, and but that doesn't bother me because as long as there's a brown girl in the group, period, like that's all I wanted. And I thought that was so just like mature of her, and so just like I get it because she's like thinking more like big picture things. Like my part of the dream of like me actually being a star isn't coming true, at least my dream of like the girls actually having a brown girl to look up to. They show, the process of the girls each getting picked for Cat's Eye, and then we have the marvelous 6 members of Cat's Eye. We get them like running off afterwards and being like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Like as a group, we got like all of them being like, I love you so much. I'm so glad. Like, oh my god, we're gonna be famous. We're finally debuting. Like, it's just like a big like feel good moment. Like they're like you get to see like be there in that moment with them finally of like, ugh, like I finally did it. Like it's like finally over. We also see a couple of scenes of like Ezrella and Emily being really sad about not debuting. We see like Marquise and stuff like that. Is her name Marquis or Marquise? I've been calling her Marquise this whole time, but now that I think about it, I think they were calling her Marquis the whole time. Sorry, girl. I love you. Yeah, we have the nice moments between them. I hate the fact that I didn't get enough like cat's eye moments themselves. Like I wish I got like duo moments, like trio moments. Like I wanted more Danot. Like Manon literally tells Danielle like you thank you for being there throughout the whole thing for me. Like I wouldn't have done this without you. And we didn't get to really see them. We didn't get to really see that bond, and that really pissed me off because we definitely saw the bond between like Emily and Adela or Megan and Adela, but like what about Megan and Sophia? What about Megan and Daniela? What about, Sophia and Laura? Like during Dream Academy, everyone was going off about like that duo and like loving that duo. And now all of a sudden, like we're not showing any of that duo. People were loving like Manon and Yunche, and we didn't get any. We barely got any Yunche. I'm still on that. We barely got Yunche. But I want to say again, Megan's mom is so cute for giving her the lay and then giving one to Manon too, and I'm assuming to the rest of the girls too. But they production then asked like, "Oh my god, like how does it feel?" And all of them are like, "Oh, it doesn't feel real. Like it still hasn't set in." And that's it. I wish that they had like an episode or something, or like at least like 30 minutes of them like actually going through the process of forming like their sound and forming the look and like actual behind the scenes of like forming Katseye after Katseye has finally found the members. You know what I mean? It's just like, uh, I don't know. It's dumb. But yeah, that is it for the analysis. I wanted to mention because I mentioned how I don't like Naisha in the timeline and in the sequence of things. This is when Naisha's whole thing happens. That's weird. She goes off and she comments on Laura's post after Laura like posts like, "Oh my god, member of Cat's Eye." Like they don't show us them interacting at all, so I didn't even know that they were supposed to know each other. But she comments and she says like, "Oh Laura, like we knew that you were going to debut, like this is just something that we talked about. We're so glad that you're here now. I'm so glad that you're here now. And not only are you going to this is the part, not only are you going to have to hold it down for the brown girls, you're also going to have to hold it down for the black girls. You'll know later on." I know y'all don't like Manon because y'all think that she stole your spot in the group, but I think that's so nasty to just comment in public. Like that could have been like a shady text message, but in public saying shady shit about Manon. Like what all of a sudden because you don't fuck with her, she's not black anymore? What? How did that make sense? How does that make sense? How does that make sense? Whatever. But and then also during this, people were noticing that Adela was like commenting, posting the other girls' congratulations, but she wasn't posting like congratulations to Manon. So people were like, "Ooh, why aren't you saying anything to Manon?" Speaking to the mic. And she had responded, I she should just go quiet. Again, it's like teenage girls, like I can't fault her for doing like she doesn't have an agent, whatever. She posts, "Y'all keep it cute. Me and Manon are fine. We are good friends and we you don't have to worry about anything within our relationship. Our relationship is between us. We're really good. Like keep it cute." This show didn't show me that. This show didn't show me that, and I she was already on my hit list because of that. Because I was like, "Ooh, I would keep it cute if I were you, girl." Because like, why are you catching an attitude with like a bunch of hypothetical fans? Like, and it's one of those things where it's like if you just ignored it, it would have gone away in a day or two. But whatever, I digress. And I know that people still have speculations that the other Dream Academy girls don't really like Manon because they avoided her in the hug afterwards, like when they had the finale and they were like coming together to, like hug as a group, they kind of avoided Manon. And then it's also the thing of like, oh, it was Sophia's birthday and everyone's posting happy birthday, Sophia, but a couple days before it was Manon's birthday and no one says happy birthday, Manon. So it's like little inklings like that where people are like, oh, they don't like Manon. But I, after watching this, have reached the conclusion of like, I don't really care. They didn't make it in the group at the end of the day. The girls, Katseye themselves loves each other. I don't care, especially because like that stuff at least happened a year ago. So I'm not gonna judge their relationship based on something that happened at least a year ago. By now they've been bonding, they've been a group for a year now. They just debuted now, but I mean like a group wise have been a group for like a year. Yeah, obviously like different people have different opinions and different takeaways from the documentary. But that's it for my analysis for Pop Star Academy, Cat's Eye. That's all I'm gonna say on the matter. I just wanted to like kind of like talk about it. This one's a bit of a long one. Like this was a doozy. This was the first time I had made such a long like video like this and such like a long analysis video. But that's all the time I have for today. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already for more videos like these. I make videos every week starting this week. And comment down below who is your favorite member of Cat's Eye or who is your favorite member of Dream Academy. If you, my social medias are all in the description down below. And I will also have links in the description to donate to Gaza. And thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.